When you're a kid, you learn to fear the boogeyman. I never thought I'd find out why.
Morning. Sorry to bother you so early on a Saturday. Are you, John Tate?
I am. Is everything okay?
Are you familiar with Joanne Harrison?
She's a friend and a colleague of mine. Why, is something wrong?
Well, Mr. Tate, her body was found inside her home last night, completely cut up. You wouldn't have to know anything about that, would you?
Michael Myers didn't die in '78 because 22 years ago tonight, he found her. But if he has returned, and if we don't do something soon, the people in this town are going to be in real danger.
After all this time, you're still alive. That ends tonight.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another brand new installment of Renegades Reviews, exclusively here as always on the Casa D18 Studios channel. I, of course, am your host, the Renegade JJ Williams, and today's episode is also being replayed 1 hour later on the Jeff Meacham Network. Thank you very much, Mr. Meacham, for allowing us to come over to the network, invade the time slot that is usually held by the dads, not always on wrestling, every other week, like we've been doing ever since the show got resurrected. And today, we're going to take a look at the 1932 film, The Mummy, starring Boris Karloff, Zita Johann, David Manners, Arthur Byron, and Edward Van Sloan. What's going on, everybody? Thank you for joining me here once again for another brand new installment of Renegades Reviews. And like I said during the introduction, today we're going to take a look at the 1932 film, The Mummy, starring Boris Karloff. And I've got to say, I had never seen this start to finish prior to watching it to review it today. And we'll get into it a little bit later, but let's just say I'm not surprised at this point. Now, our movie opens in 1921. As an archaeological expedition being led by Sir Joseph Wemple finds the mummy of an ancient high priest named Imhotep. After an inspection of the mummy by Wemple's friend, Dr. Muller, reveals that the viscera were not removed, and that from signs of struggling, Muller can deduce that although Imhotep had been wrapped like a traditional mummy, he had actually been buried alive. Also buried with Imhotep is a casket with a curse upon it. And despite Muller's warning, Sir Joseph's assistant, Ralph Norton, opens it and finds an ancient life-giving scroll, the Scroll of Thoth. Ralph translates the symbols and then reads the words aloud, causing Imhotep to rise, the sight of which causes Ralph to laugh hysterically as Imhotep shuffles off with the scroll. 10 years then pass, and Imhotep has assimilated into a mysterious Egyptian historian named Ardith Bey. He calls upon Sir Joseph's son, Frank, and Professor Pearson, and shows them where to dig up the tomb of the princess, Anuxinamun. After locating the tomb, the archaeologists present its treasures to the Cairo Museum, and Ardith Bey disappears. Ardith Bey soon encounters Helen Grosvenor, a half-Egyptian woman that bears a striking resemblance to Princess Anuxinamun. Imhotep reveals to her that his horrific death was punishment for sacrilege, for attempting to resurrect his forbidden lover, Princess Anuxinamun. Believing that Helen is Anuxinamun's reincarnated body, Imhotep attempts to kill her with the intention of mummifying her, resurrecting her, and finally making her his immortal bride. Helen is rescued when she remembers her ancestral past life and prays to the goddess of Isis to come to her aid. The statue of Isis raises its arm and emits a flash that sets the scroll of Thoth on fire. This breaks the spell that had given Imhotep his immortality, causing him to crumble to dust. And our movie ends with Dr. Moeller urging Frank to call Helen back to the world of the living as the scroll of Thoth continues to burn. Once again, much like yesterday's, I feel like today's is going to be a little bit of a shorter episode. The synopsis was fairly brief. The movie, only about an hour and 10 minutes. And while the acting and everything was far superior to like yesterday's White Zombie, I feel like this film kind of bored me a little bit. Maybe it's because I've seen the 90s and early 2000s Brendan Fraser mummies so many times, but I just felt like the pacing of the movie was so slow, even with it only being an hour and 10-minute runtime. Again, I'm not taking away from the makeup. I'm not taking away from the acting. I'm not taking away from the overall story of the film, because they pretty much just lifted this story and dropped it into the 90s Brendan Fraser mummy. But I just feel like you take so long to get to the backstory of how Imhotep, Ardith Bey, got busted, wrapped up, buried alive. Like, it takes a good 40 minutes of an hour and 10 to get to that backstory. And I feel like if they hit us with that earlier in the film, then maybe they would have had us reeled in a little bit more, at least as newer people watching the movie, who've only seen it for the first time, as opposed to people, for example, like my father, who may have grown up watching this film. I just feel like if they had hit us with that backstory earlier, we would have been reeled in more to the story, instead of waiting for essentially the beginning of the third act to hit us with that backstory. I feel like that was a real downfall for this film. But that being said, Boris Karloff, amazing as always. Zita Johann was gorgeous. Edward Van Sloan, once again popping up. He's in Frankenstein. He's in Dracula. He's going to be in Dracula's Daughter coming up in a couple of days. Edward Van Sloan, man, one of those MVPs of the early Universal horror films, much like Dwight Fry was. I'm curious to know what you guys think out there in YouTube land of The Mummy. For me, much like yesterday, I'm going to give The Mummy, I'm going to give it 2.5 stars. I'm going to rate it a little bit higher than White Zombie, but not by much. Again, I do feel it's superior to White Zombie, hence the extra half star. But I just feel like that too late in the game backstory really brings it down, at least for me. Again, what do you guys think? Those of you out there that have seen Boris Karloff's The Mummy, let me know. If you're watching the premiere, leave your thoughts and comments over here. If you're watching on demand later in the day, leave your thoughts and comments down here. Whatever you do, though, when you get out there on social media, let's try to get those hashtags trending. Hashtag Casa D18 Studios, hashtag Renegades Reviews, hashtag Renegade Returns, hashtag Jeff Meacham Network, and of course, the ever popular hashtag Shenanigans. We interrupt this episode of Renegades Reviews for an important announcement about
merchandising.
Merchandising? What's that?
Merchandising. Come, I'll show you. Merchandising, where the real money's made.
Make sure you go over to teespring.com/stores/Jeff Meacham Network for all the t-shirts you see here from the West Coast professor, Jeff Meacham himself. You can get shirts for the Jeff Meacham Network, Talk Wrestling, as well as the red and gold Meachamania shirts. And while you're there, don't forget to get your shirts of the Casa D18 Studios Brotherhood, the Dads on Wrestling shirt, the Renegade JJ Williams, Statboy Sports Bar, and the hashtag StatBoyApproved shirt. Make sure you go over to teespring.com/stores/Jeff Meacham Network and score your shirts today. Make sure you guys tune in tomorrow, right back here on the Casa D18 Studios channel, for another brand new installment of Renegades Reviews. When we take a look, jump ahead a couple of years, and we review 1935's The Bride of Frankenstein, starring Boris Karloff, Colin Clive, Valerie Hobson, Elsa Lanchester, Gavin Gordon, Douglas Walton, E.E. Clive, and Dwight Fry. You're not going to want to miss out on that tomorrow. Right back here on the Casa D18 Studios channel. Right back here on an all-new Renegades Reviews. Once again, thank you very much to the Jeff Meacham Network for allowing us to come and broadcast in this time slot like we do every other week when there's not a brand new Dads Not Always on Wrestling to tune in for. Make sure you tune in next week right here on this time slot for the Dads Not Always on Wrestling's top 10 songs to play at a Halloween party. You're definitely not going to want to miss that one. Thank you all for joining me, tuning in today. To all my loyal fans and viewers out there that joined me for the premiere, leaving your thoughts and comments over here. Thank you very much. I greatly appreciate each and every one of you. Likewise, all my loyal fans and viewers out there that tune in just a little bit later in the day, watching on demand, leaving your thoughts and comments down here. Thank you very much. I greatly appreciate each and every one of you guys. I appreciate all my loyal fans and viewers out there that tune in on a regular basis, showing me that love, showing me that support, trying to help boost up my viewership hours by going back to the archives, watching old episodes of Renegade of Wrestling, Dads on Wrestling, After the Bell with Jeff Meacham, Stat Boys Rants, all that content, the audio episodes of Renegades Reviews from the first run of the show. Trying to help me, like I said, get those viewership hours up so I can get monetized, make a few bucks on this endeavor. Thank you very much to each and every one of you that tuned in and joined me today, and I will see you guys next time.